Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to show you something interesting that we found about our financial services client. We had generated this client 454 financial services leads. As the campaign progressed, we scaled our budgets and we improved our targeting and our qualification process. So much so that the share of qualified leads that we actually generated for this client's business that were reporting 500,000 in annual revenue increased from just 37% of the total leads to over 53%. That is a 42, almost 43% lift. And so the newer leads came from more established businesses, they reported stronger credits, and they ultimately requested more capital. Now, we had improved the quality of these leads in entering our client's pipeline. And when we reviewed what happened after each lead was delivered into their system, there are 5 specific changes that we recommended. So these 5 changes could help turn this company and any company who is generating qualified leads and turning more of those leads into qualified conversations, sales appointments, and ultimately revenue into the business. Now, the 5 changes that I'm going to go through in this video are increase the contact rate, send the best leads to the best salespeople, respond within 5 minutes, and combining a cohesive and consistent manual and automated follow-up strategy, and finally creating a weekly feedback loop to consistently give that feedback from the sales team to marketing so you can create better campaigns consistently over time. And so the lessons that I'm sharing in this video apply specifically to financial services companies, insurance agencies, carriers, and established high ticket services businesses that use some sort of paid acquisition today. So paid ads, as an example, right? The company name and the specific details in this case study I've removed just for privacy purposes, but this is results from a client that we're currently working with right now. If you don't know me, my name is Isaac Wood. I'm the founder of Fast Qualified Leads. And so we generate qualified and exclusive leads for our clients. Like I said, financial services businesses, insurance firms, high ticket services business. And for this specific client, we were generating the leads specifically working through meta ads. We built the funnel. We confirmed the contact information through one-time passwords. We qualified each lead through our funnel before we're delivering that lead into our client's CRM. And so our data showed who entered the pipeline, the CRM from the client. That showed us what happened after delivery. And so by looking at both, we can follow the full path from lead generation all the way through revenue. And so these are the 5 changes that we ultimately will make. So the first domino in any sort of funnel is you want to be working on the highest leverage activities. In this case, it's going to be the contact rate. So the first change is going to make sure that we're getting in touch with as many leads as we possibly can. Contact rate is very simple. It's the percentage of leads that we're actually having a real conversation with. And that's just a two-way conversation, right? So as an example, one report I saw that 60% of leads were uncontacted. The average lead received just about 4 calls. Some leads were receiving 1, 2, or even 0 calls. And this showed a very clear opportunity in a way to improve the results. Now, the company could speak with more of the leads that were already generated into their pipeline. And so in order to do this, I would track 6 numbers first: speed to first call, percentage of leads called, average calls per lead, contact rate by salesperson, and contact rate by lead tier or bucket, depending on your qualification system. So these numbers will show exactly how well the team and specific individuals on that team convert qualified leads into sales conversations and ultimately revenue. And so they give sales, your marketing, and your management one specific scorecard that makes it very, very clear. And the first goal with this is simple. We need to speak with more of the qualified leads, right? It's going to be our big takeaway from our first domino here. So a higher contact rate gives every downstream conversion more opportunities to improve, right? So in fixing the furthest thing up the funnel in terms of our contact rate, that's going to be improving total number of appointments booked and ultimately our closes. So let's do a little analysis here. This is our teaching blackboard. So remember, we have 454 leads into our pipeline. Now, let's assume we have a 50% contact rate. That means that we have 227 conversations out of 454 leads. Now, let's assume we get a 70% contact rate. So we improve our time to lead. We improve all the systems that I'm about to share with you in our sales process. And ultimately, that means you have 318 conversations. So how does that meaningfully improve your sales performance? Assuming nothing else changes, right? You're getting an additional 91 conversations. So that's 91 additional opportunities that you and your team are going to have to close more deals and convert more prospects and convert more qualified leads into actual revenue. And so really that's the focus here, is simply getting in touch with more of the leads you're already paying for, the leads you're already generating. You're going to just squeeze more juice out of that orange and ultimately more sales conversations. And so really the focus with this, again, the higher the contact rate, the more opportunities that we'll be able to perform. And that's really, really key and very, very important. So that's our first domino. So once that's starting to fall, we want to consider our next domino, which is speed to lead. So speed to lead is pretty simple. It's how quickly you're actually getting in touch with your lead once they've been generated. So in this case, we have 454 qualified leads. We're getting in touch with at least 70% of them once we've determined that that's a metric that we want to be hitting. We're having 318 sales conversations versus the 227 sales conversations that we were having previously, right? So the way that we're getting there is simply 5 minutes time to lead. And so what that actually looks like in practice is once the lead's generated, once it's sent into your team's CRM, you need to take action very, very quickly. So the first thing I always recommend is a manual text. From there, call, leave a voicemail if they don't answer, and then send a follow-up email in response to that. So I'm going to share some examples of what we're actually doing and how it looks today, right? So here's just a simple script you can use. Hey, first name, in this case, hey, Alex, this is Isaac from Fast Qualified Leads. Excited to speak with you about the program. Are you free for a chat now, later this afternoon, or tomorrow? You're giving them 3 options. You're not just giving them a yes or a no. And you're opening up the door for them to actually reply. Another benefit of including your first name in your initial text is it shows up as maybe your first name in their specific text inbox versus just saying some random number or spam likely. So the next one here is going to be, once you send that text, you dial them up. Now they have your name and they don't answer. Leaving a voicemail is something that I always like to do. It shows you're a real business person. It shows that you have real intent to get in touch with them. It allows them to hear your voice, turns you into a real person versus just getting a missed call and no specific follow-up. Here's an example script you can use. Hey, Alex, it's Isaac from Fast Qualified Leads. I just sent you a text with a little more context on the program and wanted to put a voice to the name. Give me a call back at this number when you get a chance. Talk soon. Simple, brief, very, very simple. Again, you're just really keeping front of mind, starting to build trust here. So once you've done that, send them an email, right? Hey, just shot you a text about the program. I had a couple ideas that could help you get more value from it. And this is going to be more specific to your offer and talk to the value props that you're actually helping your clients out with. But you always want to end with a single call to action in any of your emails, right? Do you have 15 minutes later today or tomorrow for a quick chat to see if it makes sense to move forward, right? You're not just sending these randomly, they're referencing each other. It's really showing that you have intent to get in touch with them. And it, again, creates a real bond, like you're a real person, somebody who they would actually legitimately want to do business with. So, the big takeaway and lesson from our second domino of speed to lead is contacting a lead within 60 seconds increases the likelihood of closing by almost 400%. And this is data that's widely available. Alex Hormozy posts a lot about this. And I've seen this specifically in my own business and in my clients' businesses. So the faster you can get in touch with a lead, the better the chances are that you will be able to get in touch with them. And the reasoning is pretty simple. If they're looking to solve a problem and you are immediately available, you can be there to solve that for them. If they're looking to solve the problem and you're not there, they're going to continue to look for that solution until they can actually have it solved. So if you're not solving it, then somebody else will be. So that's just very, very important. So now that we have our time to lead dialed in, we want to focus on our third opportunity. This is going to be the third domino that fixes our overall funnel performance and increases our close rate from the leads that we're already generating. So let's talk about prioritizing our lead routing. So in other words, that means sending the best leads to our best reps. As it goes, in any sales organization, you're going to have some reps that are just going to be your A players. You're going to have a lot of really good reps. If you're training your team, you're holding them to high standards, you're holding them to hitting their numbers, which all legitimate sales organizations should be doing. And you're going to have a couple outperformers. So when it comes to feeding those outperformers, you want to give them your highest quality leads. Now, we'll just call this tier 1 and tier 2, but you can break it up in as many tiers as you like. But let's just call it tier 1 goes to the A players and tier 2 just goes to everybody else, right? So our qualification form already collected those details from our lead, right? We got how big they are, how long they've been in business, potentially how many employees they have, other qualifying information about the business, right? And so this allows us then to route them properly. So you can push those who have, in this example, 500K or more in revenue to your tier 1 routing and ultimately to your A players. If it's below that rate, then they would go to the tier 2 or the B players, right? So as this example, you are going to be spending the highest leverage time with your highest leverage leads, and your lower leverage leads will go to your lower leverage sales talent. And so even still, these could ultimately become A players, right? Your B players could just be green. They could just be folks who need a little more training. And ultimately you can trade them up into the A players. But this just gives you a pretty easy framework to prioritize your lead flow so you can ultimately just get more out of what you're already doing and what you're already paying for, right? As the example. So the key lesson for this specific domino and this specific step is the strongest opportunities to serve the strongest sales coverage. High leverage opportunity, high leverage salesperson, they're going to close at a higher rate and likely make more money doing it as well. Now let's move to our fourth domino. So that's going to be creating follow-up systems that book appointments. So we've already seen that, we're increasing our contact rates by including 5-minute time to lead. We're routing our leads by priority. And now we want to also have a follow-up system that is aligned with our sales process. So let me share with you how we typically think about it. So a good follow-up system does not only mean you're going to be leveraging automated workflows. I always suggest creating automation, but that does not mean that you shouldn't be still doing the manual personalized touches. That's again what's going to make you feel more human and make it harder for you to be ignored. If you're consistently calling, sending texts, providing social proof in the form of testimonials, sending, case studies, sending them to your Trust Pilot, Google reviews, actual video reviews from your clients, case study breakdowns with real data from your actual results, and just offers to provide help in addition to like confirming the next step with the leads via texts and emails. That's very, very important. In addition to that, you want to also have some automation set up. And so these are going to be things just like email flows, which will include case studies, social proof, frequently asked questions, explaining your process, and objection handling. And the reason why this works is because when someone books an appointment with you or they submit a lead form, they have a clear intent. They are likely problem aware and looking for a solution. They now understand that your solution exists and they're interested. Does not always mean that they're ready to buy that moment. Some folks are just going to move faster. They're predisposed to acting more quickly. They have bigger budgets. They have bigger goals. They'll move more quickly. Then you have people in the middle who tend to take a little bit more time, want to understand more about how the process works, are a little more risk averse in terms of making decisions very, very quickly. And then you have, your folks who take a long time to make decisions. Ideally, you're optimizing for the people who make decisions quickly by getting in touch with them quickly within 5 minutes, being diligent with your initial early follow-ups. But this system allows you to continue to stay front of mind for those folks who are fast movers, but just haven't had the opportunity to get in touch with you yet. The middle and the slow tier folks who are just looking to, get a little bit more nurture, get a little bit more information. And so this is a pretty great framework that we leverage with all of our clients. And this helps increase your overall connection rate as well for those folks who aren't connecting with you within that first day or two, right? So this keeps you front of mind and it allows you to provide like a fully cohesive campaign that gives the lead all of the context on your business, right? So what is the solution? Explain your offer, tell them exactly what you do in plain English. Why does it matter? And then, tie it to the challenges that they're faced with and the things that they've already done, right? How does it actually work? What's your model look like? Moving into what makes you different and differentiating you from the rest of the market. Ultimately, just sharing more around, hey, this is a good fit or this is not a good fit. As an example, we work best with businesses who are already doing $1 million in revenue per year at an absolute minimum. If you're speaking to businesses like that, you're going to be able to push that into your messaging and it continues to reinforce the consistency from beginning of your funnel, from the advertisement, from the outreach that they first saw, all the way to, the moment that they're opening your email and saying, hey, this still is for me. They've finally gotten some nurture from you. They've started to really understand exactly what you do. They're going to be more likely to take that next step. It's just very, very simple, right? So the key things here, what is it? Why should they care? How does it work? Why they should trust it? So that's going to be the social proof. Will it ultimately work for us? And then what's the next step? What happens next? So the goal with this is just educate, build trust, and move the buyer towards a conversation. So the key takeaway, research shows that 80% of sales require a minimum of 5 follow-ups. That means most sales are going to need even more than 5. And it shows also that 44% of salespeople will stop after their initial follow-up. And so there's just a huge amount of leverage that you can get by keeping front of mind. And so don't sell yourself short. If your messaging is consistent and value-based, continue to send it at a consistent rate. If it's simply just bumping this, following up, do you have an answer? That type of messaging is spammy and going to convert at a lower rate. So as long as you're providing value, as long as you're working with the framework that I shared earlier, this one here, you're going to have a much better chance at closing your deals more consistently and not losing any leads through the cracks. So let's move on to our fifth domino in the process. And that's going to be improving our close rate using sales feedback. So, pretty simply, right? Once they've gotten all the way through the funnel, we'll ask sales, hey, how did this lead work? How did they progress through? Were they qualified? Were they not qualified? What did they do that made them qualified? What about them made them unqualified? And so the benefit is multiple. From a meta perspective, you're able to send the data back into the pixel, which is the algorithm for targeting, to help improve the quality of your targeting. So it's going to find buckets and pools of people who are just higher quality based on the data that you're sending back. Pretty simple. It also allows you to map the messaging that actually converted the leads that turn into real deals. So you can continue to create more iterations around that messaging, whether that's going to be in your ad creative, whether that's in your outreach, on your landing pages, in your email follow up, in your manual follow up, in your calls. All that messaging needs to be consistent. And if you can leverage the insights that are converting the most leads, then you're going to have wins. Some other key questions your review should be answering. What lead profiles or which specific leads created the best sales conversations? Which ads created the highest quality leads or the leads that actually turn into revenue? Which salespeople converted the most leads? Which salespeople had the most touches? Which lead details predicted applications and sales? And ultimately, what were the highest quality leads that actually turned into the most revenue? Pretty simple, right? So this creates a stronger system over time. And so with any advertising funnel, it really is an iterative process, and you want to continue to feed that system with more data that comes all the way through. Once you've set up new ad creative, new campaigns, your targeting should continue to improve, your results should continue to get better. And like we showed in this example, the quality of the lead went up from the feedback that our client was able to provide to us, which is really, really helpful, very, very beneficial. So the key takeaway from our fifth domino in improving our close rate is that feedback informs those decisions, ultimately improving the campaign performance, the lead quality, and the business outcomes. So that means getting lower cost per lead, getting higher quality leads, and ultimately getting more sales. So this audit covered 454 qualified leads, helped improve the actual contact rates. If you're leveraging these 5 systems to increase your contact rate, improve the quality of the lead, to get more leads to progress through your funnel, ultimately get more sales. This is the 5-step system to do so. Now, if you want some help actually implementing this into your business, click the link in the description below. Book a call with us and we'll discuss your business, your goals, identify your biggest constraint. We'll tell you if we think we can help you. Not, we'll tell you directly, but if we do think we can help you out, we'll talk about how to actually get started and how to get you to the next level, help you generate some qualified leads that actually turn into revenue and profit into your business. That's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.